Okay, so today we'll be learning our tiered dress. We have two types of tiered dress. First of all, what is the meaning of tiered? Tiered is when you deal with something that has layers. In fashion, there are designs that you see that has steps, or they are in steps in rows. So we call them tiers. So we have two types of tiers. We have the separated and we have the attached one. So today I'm going to show you the attached tiers. So first thing you need to know is, okay, I need to explain more on the tiers for you. Tiers may be graduated or even length. That's, your length might vary from each other. The first layer might be of a certain length, while the next layer might be a little bit longer, and the next layer might be a little bit longer than the second layer. So that's when it's called graduated, like, you know, it's increasing as the step goes. So then, as for your width, your tiers width of each tiers two might vary. It all depends on the fullness you are working with. So when you are dealing with width, you multiply wherever, maybe the waist or the hip, wherever you are attaching the tiers to, that's the first step. You multiply it starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It depends on the fullness that you want. So your first tier, which okay, to determine your tier, you need your tiered width and your tiered length. So the steps needed, if you check your advanced textbook, page 98 and 99, I have the tiered steps there. So you draft your dress block to your desired length. So after drafting your dress block, you shape your block like to suit you, whether you want it fitted or you want it a bit free. Just shape your dress block. So the next thing you are going to do is to panel the lower part of your dress block, which that skirt part, starting from your waist down. You panel it into the amount of layers you want. You can either do 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers, 6 layers. It all depends on your choice. So after you panel the lower part of your pattern, then the next thing you need to do is to calculate the width for each layer. So I'm going to try that out on my second board right here. So mind you, when constructing a tier dress, you can decide to work with your own design. As for the upper part, like, I don't know, your choice. Be creative with it. Not necessarily everything basic. You know, you can do a spaghetti upper part, you can do strapless, you can even do corset if you know how to do corset. So this is my dress pattern here. You can see I've drafted it to the length, and you can see I have shaped the side. You can see I have shaped the side. So I have my front and my back here. So now I want to segment my lower part into the amount of layers that I want. So all I need to do is, at what length, how many layers do I want this to be? If it is 4, then you divide from your waist, just from the waist to the hem area, you divide it into 4. If it is 5, you do the same thing. Whatever layers you want, just make sure you do your division from the waist down. And if your tier is not starting from the waist, maybe your tier is starting from your hip line, or you want it to have, it's starting from a yoke point, all you need to do is just mark your yoke point, and the remaining length, you divide it to amount of tiers that you want. So my own tiers is going to start from the waist. So because my tiers is starting from the waist, I'm going to do my division from waist to the hem. So how many layers of tiers do I want? Let me do 1, 2. Let me just do 4 layers. So I'm doing 4 layers. So I'm going to know what I have here. I have here from my waist down. I have 22 inches, and in cm I have 56 cm. So 22 inches, since I'm doing 4 layers, 22 divided by 4 gives me 5.5. 5.5, thank you. This is inches. So 5.5 in cm, that's 14 cm. So I'm going to divide 5.5 5.5 5.5. So you do the same thing for your front, then you square it across. So as you are squaring it, you are labeling it. So this is my tier 1. Okay, let me label it with alphabet. That's my tier A. So the next 5.5. So this is going to give me my tier B. Then the next one, okay, so now that I've labeled this, take note, the dot on the skirt part is not necessary. Not that you will remove it too, but it's not useful. Like, we'll turn it into the fullness that we are adding to the waist. So now that I have segmented my layers, the next thing I need to get is my width. So for tier 1, this, I'm attaching it to the waist, right? So my waist measurement times the amount of fullness. You know, I told you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It depends on how full you want it. So I'm going to multiply it by 3. Or let me multiply it by 2.5 to avoid too much of bulkiness. 2.5, okay? And my 2. Okay. So whatever answer this gives me is what I'm using for tier K, just tier K alone. So let me say my waist is 32 inches. In cm is 81. So 32 times 2.5 gives me what? Please, Mr. C.
81 times 2.5. 202.5.
So this gives me 202.5 inches.
That's 81 times 2.5.
It gives me 80 inches. Sorry, I'm working with inches. You can convert to cm. So it gives me 80 inches. So this 80 inches is what I'm cutting, is the width I'm going to measure out from the fabric I have that I'm using for my tier 1. So remember, this 80 inches has covered for both front and back. So now for my tier B, whatever result I have for tier 1 is 80. I'm going to multiply it by 2. Reason why I'm not going to multiply it by 3 is, if I multiply it by 3, it will be too, you know, this is a casual wear. I don't need my gathers to be too much. So that is the main reason I'm multiplying it by 2. And you remember, you can control your tiered with your first layer. It's the first layer that will determine the amount of bulkiness that you will have for the rest of the layers. So when you are multiplying the first layer, you can use either times 2, times 1.5, times, definitely you know times 3 will be much. So 80 times 2, whatever it gives me,
160.
160, thank you. 160 inches. So now to get for my tier C, the width, I'm going to use my result for tier B times 2. You can see I'm multiplying each result by 2. So 160 times 2
320.
gives me 320. So for my last layer here, I'm going to use my result for C, layer C, to achieve it. So 320 times 2 gives me what?
640. 40.
640.
Yes.
Gives me 640 inches, and that is it. So the sewing process will be sent to you today, and that is all you need. So you know, remember I told you your layers can differ from each other. It's not necessarily your layers is the same measurement lengthwise. So you can do your research to get some other styles with tiered designs, so that you can understand better what I meant by layers varies. So that is that for our tiered dress. And as for the upper part, you hold your darts, you transfer your shoulder darts to your underarm, then you construct your neckline. And that is it.